It's been a while since I've had a Cup of Joe episode where I could just chat with you guys about what I've been up to, what I've been doing. I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you all the projects I'm doing and talk to you about the Lowrider S, specifically how I choose a motorcycle and how that fits in with the Lowrider S. There's often a lot of criticism around the motorcycling community, especially on YouTube, where guys switch bikes a lot. And I want to address that criticism specifically, because I've done it a little bit here lately, and I just wanted to talk more about that. But first, I want to show you this because I'm pretty proud of it. I've been working on this Canoe now for, gosh, almost a year. I got most of the materials for it last September, early October. I'm not a woodworker. What this project was about was learning how to problem solve. That's what this has taught me, and it's been a lot of fun. Definitely one of the most challenging things I've done for sure, but at the end, very rewarding. And it's probably gonna be something I only use maybe 6-7 times a year, if that, just because it's, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a 70-pound canoe with all the trim on it. I'm putting together some videos on the other channel, Great Egret Adventure. You're gonna see the entire build series of this on that channel. And if you're interested in any of that, I've got a link below to the other channel. Yesterday, I took the Lowrider S in for the 1,000-mile maintenance, and that's actually why I don't have it here right now. So I've had some time on the bike. I've had some time to figure out a little bit what its purpose is and what it means to me. I'm gonna talk more about my thoughts on the Lowrider S, but let's put some context into that, how I choose a motorcycle. So when I'm thinking about buying a motorcycle, one of the first things I do is the obvious. I look at the intended purpose of that motorcycle. So when I bought my Sportster, I was thinking I want a good bike that's great for a beginner, but still challenging enough that's it's gonna keep me interested after a while of riding it. And that's exactly what that bike was. If I'm gonna wanna ride off-road, I'm probably not gonna buy a Sportster. If I wanna cruise across the United States, I'm likely not gonna buy a small displacement bike. I'm gonna get to that more later because that's exactly what I did. Like a lot of things in life, including motorcycles, there's always an exceptions to the rules. So another project we got going on is this van back here. I don't know what the plan is for it, but we're gonna be doing a lot of camping with it right now. Maybe some longer trips, we'll see. Right now it doesn't have much, but it's big, it's roomy. I kind of want to deck this thing out and travel in it. It's a canvas right now, who knows? The other thing to consider when buying a motorcycle is how it functions. This is where fit and finish comes in. Do you like the way the signals work? Consider the tank. Do you really want to be filling up every 100 miles? If not, maybe get a bike with a bigger tank. Here's another thing that I've been working on for a long time. Too long. I've got a lot of projects, guys. This Virago. It's definitely a work in progress. You may have remembered this from the very first Cup of Joe episode. There's a little bit of rust in the tank, so I'm taking the tank out and gonna clean that up, empty that old fuel out of there. It's kind of a really weird design. The air box is up here, and the gas tank is down here. I'm not sure what I want to do with this bike. I'm thinking about a bobber, maybe a cafe racer, leaning towards a bobber. Part of me really just wants to restore it back to its original state. I've never done that with a bike before that's been this far gone. The next thing to consider when buying a bike is comparisons to other bike. It's not really fair to yourself as a rider to just ride one bike and say, this is the bike for me. I think it's really important to ride that bike, then as soon as possible, get on another similar bike. If you're considering an Iron 883, get on a Yamaha Bolt, just for comparison. Even within the same brand, if you're considering a Lowrider S, get on a Slim. If you're considering a touring model, get on a Heritage Classic, just for comparison, just so you know which one is right for you. So the final thing to consider when purchasing a bike is your intended use of that bike. And this is where I'm getting back to what I mentioned first. Yes, go ahead and buy a Sportster if you plan on riding around town. But if you want to ride a Sportster long distance, don't let anybody tell you you can't. While there are intended purposes of certain bikes, you can break that rule by making a few mods or by challenging yourself, just as I did when I did the Route 66 trip. So how does this fit in with me and the Lowrider S? When I test rode the Lowrider S, I knew I was buying a cruiser. I was coming from the Africa Twin. That was a challenging bike to ride, and I'll get on another adventure bike likely this spring. But I wanted the Lowrider S because I wanted a bike where I could cruise, but I still wanted the same feelings I got while riding my Iron 883 in the twisties in the driftless region, especially with that low angle rake on it. It's just a perfect bike for it. And the 114 gives it a little bit more pep than some of the other cruisers in Harley's lineup. Now, when doing a test ride, as far as comparisons to other bikes, it's really hard to determine this while test riding a bike for 10 or 15 minutes or a half an hour. And oftentimes, you really don't know if the bike is right for you until you go through the process of riding it for a long time, 1,000 miles, in some cases more than that. And that's really where intended use comes in, that last one. Sometimes guys buy a bike and mod it to make it fit them. And that's definitely what I did with the Sportster. That challenge was fun, but I had to mod the hell out of it. Would I have had as much fun if I just went out and bought a touring model right away for the Route 66 trip? Maybe not. Here's what I know. My ultimate goal is to ride a lot of different bikes, and the Lowrider S is part of that. I want to do more off-road, so I'm going to be getting an adventure bike or another bike in which I can ride off-road. Lowrider S, it's not going to be able to go off-road. Though it'd be fun to challenge myself. Yeah, let's not get any ideas. Given everything I laid out, is the Lowrider S a good bike for me? Right now, it's a fun bike to cruise on. And here's where I'm getting back to being criticized for switching bikes often. Like I said, it's impossible to know if a bike is perfect for you with just a test ride, even with all this context that I've laid out. It's okay to switch bikes up. It's okay to experience a bike for a while and decide to switch into a different bike. In fact, that's a wonderful thing, especially if you can. I've worked really hard in my life to be able to pay for the bikes that I'm enjoying now, including the Lowrider S. What I know for sure right now is I have a bike that the bank doesn't own, and that gives me a lot of flexibility to decide what I'd like to do with it. Don't read too much into that. That may sound like I'm getting rid of the Lowrider S right away. I'm gonna enjoy the snot out of this bike right now. Will it be on this channel forever? Of course not. The Sportster wasn't on this channel forever. I'm gonna enjoy it right now, and I hope you enjoy it with me.